Donald Trump has filed his first voter suppression lawsuit of the cycle, and Democrats are fighting back. This is Democracy Docket. I'm Marc Elias.
And I'm Paige Moskowitz. Let's get started. The RNC and the Trump campaign recently filed a lawsuit to toss mail-in ballots in this fall elections. Mark, tell us the latest in this case.
So, Paige, this is a very, very important case for a couple of reasons. First of all, as you noted and I said in the introduction, this is the very first lawsuit that Donald Trump and his campaign have filed since 2021. So, they obviously think this is very, very important. And I hate to say I agree with Donald Trump on anything, but I agree. The Trump campaign and the RNC are trying to say that people who voted by mail did everything right, put their ballot in the mail, right? Because, Paige, we know they hit drop boxes. They put it in the mail and it was postmarked by Election Day. The fact that that ballot may come in the day after Election Day or a couple of days after Election Day, they want those ballots thrown in the garbage. They literally want those ballots trashed. They're trying to say that those ballots don't count. And, it's interesting because if you look at the rhetoric they've used about this case, Laura Trump, went on TV and talked about this case. This is just a stepping stone for them to say, as Donald Trump tweeted in 2020, stop the count, right? They don't want any ballots counted once the clock hits midnight on Election Day, whether they were received before Election Day or after Election Day. So this is a very, very important lawsuit to follow. And it is no surprise that we have seen the pro-voter forces intervening in this case. The Democratic National Committee is intervening to fight this, and good for them. And in full disclosure, my law firm is representing Vet Voice, and the Alliance for Retired Americans, the Nevada chapter, is also intervening. So there is a lot of firepower in the courtrooms in Nevada on both sides, because this is a case that could have big implications in Nevada, obviously a critical swing state, but also around the country.
There's a lot of lawyers involved in this case coming from all sides. Mark, why is that? How important in this lawsuit? Exactly how many ballots may be at risk of getting rejected in Nevada?
Right. So the Nevada Independent, which is a great news outlet, by the way, as its name suggests, it's an independent news outlet. I recommend it to everyone. They reported that over 45,000 ballots were received by Clark and Washoe County in the 4 days after the 2022 election. Clark County is the largest county. That is Las Vegas. Washoe County, second largest county, very big swing county, is where Reno is. And we're talking about a huge number of ballots. Now, not all of these ballots were ultimately accepted, but we're talking about a big enough number to affect the outcome of the election. Just to remember, in 2020, Joe Biden beat Donald Trump in Nevada by about 34,000 votes. In the Senate race in 2022, that margin was only about 8,000 votes. And so the reason why you see Republicans trying to make it harder to vote and easier to cheat in states like Nevada is because they know these kinds of election rules that may go under the radar screen can have a profound impact on whose ballot counts and whose ballot doesn't. And that can have an impact on who wins and loses.
So obviously the outcome of this case is incredibly important to Nevada, like you said, but also around the country. It could affect similar rules in other states. Mark, we did a video about this before. We went into more in depth on this lawsuit. You can click the link in the upper right-hand corner now to watch that video. But in that video, you said that Republicans were likely to lose this case, that they wouldn't strike down Nevada's law. So why is it important that Democrat and nonpartisan and progressive groups get involved in fighting against this Republican lawsuit?
Yeah, so a couple of reasons. First of all, when democracy is at stake, we can't leave anything to chance. So I have an enormous amount of respect for the Attorney General of Nevada and his office. They have some tremendous lawyers in that office. And so, I think this lawsuit wouldn't succeed anyway. But let me be clear. Donald Trump and the Republicans don't have to win every voter suppression lawsuit. They just have to win some of them. That's the asymmetry of the world in which we live. They file lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit to make it harder to vote and easier to cheat. And if they hit jackpot in enough of these lawsuits, or even one of these lawsuits in a swing state, it can affect the course of history. So when you have those kinds of stakes, you need to make sure that you are bringing everything you can to protect democracy. It's not good enough to say it will probably be okay. We need to make sure it's okay. And so one of the ways we do that is we make sure that we bring as much legal firepower to these fights as possible so that we do not wind up in a situation where voter suppressors win out.
And Nevada isn't the only state where pro voting groups are intervening in Republican brought lawsuits that are trying to change voter rules. Tell us more about the other lawsuits we're seeing.
Yeah, so Paige, that's a really important point and a really important question. There are 13 anti-voting lawsuits across 6 states where you have seen what I'll call the good guys intervene to fight. These include states like Arizona, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, Wisconsin, and let me add one to that everyone needs to pay attention to: Mississippi. Now, why do I say Mississippi? Because the RNC sent their Washington, D.C. area lawyers to Mississippi to try to strike down almost an identical law to the one that we see in Nevada. Now, isn't that curious, Paige? Why would they be spending time and money on these high-priced lawyers to go to Mississippi? And I'll tell you what my theory is. I rolled this out in a member-only exclusive piece to Democracy Docket members a few days ago. I think they are bringing this case in Mississippi because they are hoping, number one, that the state of Mississippi doesn't fight that hard. After all, Mississippi is controlled by Republicans. But number two, I think they want to try to get this case up to the conservative Fifth Circuit to try to create bad law in the Fifth Circuit and try to springboard that nationally. If you didn't get that piece, it means you're not a Democracy Docket Premium member. You ought to go right now and join Democracy Docket. Sign up for the free newsletters if you're not already. And if you want to get future premium content, you ought to become a member. And the link to do both of those are in the show notes below.
What do you expect to happen next in this Nevada lawsuit?
Look, I mean, what's going to happen next is there'll be a lot of motions, right? There'll be a motion to dismiss the lawsuit because, after all, it's not a meritorious lawsuit. There may be an effort on the other side to seek preliminary injunctive relief. That's something we've talked a lot about, where they try to accelerate this. So the next thing to expect here are going to be a bunch of skirmishes over procedural and preliminary matters. But oftentimes, as you know, those define the state of play or the outcomes for this election cycle. So I hope everyone, like I said, subscribes to Democracy Docket. There has been some great reporting as well on this lawsuit and the others about it. And, you know, as we head towards the final months before Election Day, everybody needs to be paying attention to this. Thanks for watching this episode. Find out more about the lawsuits mentioned in the description below. This video is produced and edited by Ali Rothenberg, Gabrielle Corporal, and Paige Moskowitz. It is a production of Democracy Docket LLC.